Hello and welcome everybody to the third ever episode of Untapped Talent.
Where every channel and creator has a story.
Today we have a huge guest, not the smallest of channels. I'll say that. They've only been doing YouTube since January 4th of 2018, and they've already reached 96,000 subscribers and has almost 10 million views across their channel. I'm a huge fan of this channel. I know Griffin is as well. Today our guest is
Theme Park History, the channel for everything to do with theme parks, old and new, big and small.
Dude, I just got chills. I
Oh,
just got
come
chills.
on.
That was awesome.
That's awesome, man. So how's it going, man?
I can't complain. Thank you, Joshua and Griffin, for having me on the show.
Yeah, no, thank
Thanks
you
for being
honestly
here.
for coming on. It was we kind of reached out and it was just a shot in the dark, and then you hit me up a couple of days later, and I was like, all right, we're doing this.
We were both bugging out when you answered, by the way.
Yeah, we were
Oh,
hyped.
come on. You don't need the fanboy.
No.
I know it took a little bit longer, but I barely been checking my DMs on Twitter.
Yeah,
But,
so tell me about that. Like, what's you just taking a little break from social media, or
yeah, it's like, you know how it is.
Yeah.
It becomes an addiction, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
I constantly keep scrolling and scrolling. It's more like seeing everybody still be able to go to the parks, and I'm like, I
Oh,
can't.
kills
I'm
you?
like, yeah, I can't see these people enjoying themselves while I'm stuck waiting to go back there whenever I get the chance to.
I feel that.
Now, where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, so you're kind of like right next to me. I'm over in Connecticut.
Yeah, so the like they say, the tri-state area.
Yes.
So it's not that far. Maybe if I'm lucky, no traffic. 3 hours to get up that way. Where I have a couple of family members up there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I definitely understand the struggle of not being able to go to the parks every time like Josh is able to.
I don't know the struggle.
No, he's lucky, I guess.
Hey.
He whenever he gets a weekend, I guess he can make the trip if he wants.
Oh, even if I get a weekday, 5 hours, I'm there. I'm 30 minutes from the park, so I'm good.
Oh, stop! You're making me jealous.
So what kind of content do you consume? Do you watch TikTok by any chance?
No, I
Oh,
guess
you're lucky.
I guess I'm old.
Smart
It's like
man.
it's
No,
like
you're lucky. Yeah.
like the last thing I kind of was in. It's kind of in the same realm. It was like Vine.
Okay,
That's weird to say.
that's understandable.
But it's like people go, "Oh, are you on Snapchat? Are you on TikTok?" And I'm like, "No." Like I have no idea how to use Snapchat. And while there is like I have a TikTok, I don't use it. I just
Yeah,
and
it's
it's like
smart.
just when I load up the app half the time, the volume's blaring. I'm like, God, I gotta lower it. It's just-
Yeah.
So it is
Yeah,
what
no,
it is.
the thing about TikTok is you're just scrolling through trash after trash, and then you finally find the diamond in the rough where it's like one decent video. But on YouTube, you don't have to go through all that garbage to find the video you want. You can just find the video you want because there's search features. And TikTok is just scrolling until you find something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but that's how people, I guess, consume their media these days. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all different to. I don't want to say I'm only 31, but it's like I feel like now I'm really out of touch with the world with all this new social media and stuff.
No, stay away. Stay far away. It's not worth it.
Probably for my own benefit. YouTube's probably just that's the peak. Don't go anywhere else.
So who do you watch on YouTube?
Well, if we're just talking in general, it's like a mix of like because when I was starting to watch stuff growing up, so like there's still some Let's Players, so like duo groups like Game Grumps, Oni Plays, Super Mega, but more like I'm like a wrestling fan, so OSW
Oh,
Review,
nice.
Okay.
Wrestling with Regret, a little bit of Cultaholic every here and there, and like gaming wise, it's still Angry Video Game Nerd. I mean, that's like the original, I guess.
Honestly.
Everybody grew up with.
Oh yeah.
And then like if you're talking about in my realm of like theme park stuff, it's probably like the usual suspects. There's Defunctland, there's Yesterworld, Expedition Theme Park, Fast
Tim
Pass
Tracker?
Facts. Tim Tracker, yeah. I watch his stuff. It's like weird because there's a lot of really good vloggers out there for the theme parks.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to keep up on all of them.
Yeah, I met Tim Tracker a few times. He's really cool. Him and his wife Jen. But yeah, I grew up watching their stuff since because they've been doing it like half of my life, dude. They've been doing it for like 11 years or something. Like since YouTube's been out, they've been vlogging. They've just been killing it. But yeah, that's really interesting to hear that you don't consume a lot of your own like theme park stuff, or is it just like you're sick of it because you're doing it all the time, or what?
You know what it ends up being is that like time consuming it ends up being, because then you start watching their content and then you don't stop watching their
Right.
content, and then I'm like, when am I going to work on my own stuff?
Yeah. No, I definitely get in that.
But
in that zone.
it's also like, there's, like I said, there's a lot of great content creators out there, but you usually tend to just, like you said, Tim Tracker. Tim Tracker is usually the guy that I watch, and there's
Mhm.
a bunch of other people, but you're so used to what he does that it's hard to switch off to somebody else, you know.
Right.
But in general, like you said, sometimes also you see the same stuff at the theme parks. You're like, okay, if you watched one video and somebody else is doing the video on the same type of thing, where they're in the same park and they're there for the same opening of an
Right.
attraction, kind of the same. You're not, the content's there, but you're usually there for the
It's
personality.
just a different POV for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I kind of want to get on the track of how your channel came about. Like, what made you want to start it? What motivated you to actually post that first video? And just kind of like basically what sparked it for you?
Well, I'm grateful enough that my parents, every year for summer vacation as a kid, we'd go down to Florida. And for them it was always R&R, getting away from work, getting away from New York City. For
Mm,
me, it quickly became, oh man, how many days can I go to the theme parks?
yeah,
And that was always the highlight of my summer.
yeah,
So I've always paid attention to the parks, became more of it into the forums around the time Potter was announced for Islands of Adventure, and
Yeah.
getting into, like, I think it was Mice Chat, and then it was Orlando United, now known as Inside Universal, and being part of those forums. So I've always been a fan. So it was the spark, to be honest with you, was a Christmas gift in this 2017, where my sister got me a 1989 Universal Studios Florida brochure. Mint,
Nice.
brand new. I was like, where did you get this? Is this a reprint? Did they find it in somebody's basement? Who knows? Because it looked like you could pick it off right off the shelf in a resort, or even the parks.
Yeah.
yep,
So, I was looking through that, and I quickly came to realize, like, whoa, a lot of the attractions I grew up with in the 90s are now gone. It's just ET.
Yeah.
So I got curious, and I started to look into, like, the history of the park, because I never really paid attention to it. And, there wasn't much out there. And you check YouTube, and there's a lot of people doing Disney. Nobody wants to cover Universal, or nobody just had the intention to cover Universal.
Hmm.
So when I started the channel, the idea was to be just Universal theme park history, nothing else. Started to pitch it to friends and family, and they said two things. One, you're going to run out of attractions to cover from Universal. And two, if it takes off, people are going to ask you to cover every other park.
Yeah.
So
100%.
eventually we just dropped the idea of it being like Universal theme park history to just theme park history. And I spent like 4 or 5 weeks working on that first Twister Ride It Out video. It's terrible.
I mean, the numbers aren't terrible. It's almost got
Yeah.
200K views. Did
It,
that happen like right away, or as your channel
no,
grew?
no. I'll
Okay.
be honest with you. I put that video out. I like posted it to a couple of forums, and like it didn't get over 1,000 views. But
Right.
I kept at it because I had free time at the time. I was
Yeah.
only working part time, and I had like 3 days off. So I was like, okay, I'll do something that's a hobby in the meantime. So I did that. I did a couple other videos. It wasn't until the summer, once we released Jaws, that I guess YouTube said, we like what you're doing. They picked it up in the algorithm, and we started to get some traction. And by the end of that first year, we're at 25,000. And then once we put out that Simpsons ride video in March of last year, we just went into high gear. And
Yeah.
we just that was kind of like just the tipping point, and we kind of took off.
That's your most viewed video?
Yes, which makes no sense to
It's
me.
that's because I was looking at that the other day whenever I was like just doing some research. I was like, man, why is The Simpsons? Like, that's not even that good of a ride, to be honest. Why is that one such a high viewed video? Like, why do people care?
You know what ended up happening, I think? Because, and this is very weird. So somebody reached out to my sister, who's a
Mhm.
huge Simpsons fan, and it went, dude, is this your brother doing this video? So I think what happened was because it got popular and it had Simpsons in it. Anybody who was watching Simpsons content on YouTube,
Would get recommended that.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what happened, because I
That
was like,
definitely sounds about right.
yeah, because you'd figure like some of the classic attractions would be much more popular, but I
Right.
guess, Simpsons is widely known by a lot more people than, I guess, like Jaws the ride. and it picked up, and I was like, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
I have no idea, but sure, let's go with it.
Well, The Simpsons has such a huge, like, massive fan base. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like a cult. I'm not gonna lie. I got to show you this because when you said like the Universal brochure and stuff like that, like I have my Magic Kingdom 1998 brochure and stuff like that.
All right.
I'm a huge Disney fan,
Yeah.
and then Simpsons is over here. It's up
Listen,
top.
you can't
But
go wrong. Like I've been growing up watching The Simpsons most of my life because it came out around the time I was a kid. So
Yeah.
yep,
as a kid you appreciated the animation, but now as an adult and you go back and you watch the show, you appreciate the jokes.
yep,
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
definitely agree.
Even the ride itself has some like pretty funny theme park gags, which is like as a kid you didn't pay attention, but then you go like, they got a billboard that says "Send money to Universal Studios." And at
Yeah.
the time, the parks are struggling, so I'm like, okay, that's meta. That's pretty funny.
So do you have a favorite video that you posted?
I'm I've always been torn. It's between the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, just because I really like that ride, and the Men in Black Alien Attack video
That was a good video.
because of the twist. It's not really a twist, but the fact that I say, you know what, I want to do something different. Let's just hijack the video and say, oh yeah, well, you work for the Men in Black, and this is also a recruitment video.
Yeah.
Let's switch it up a bit. So I had fun actually writing that essay and writing that script when putting that video together.
So with your videos, does it feel like homework because it's a lot of like a ton of research, a lot of scripting, a lot of editing. Like, at what point does it feel like you're just like dragging?
When I first started, it did feel like homework. It felt like, you're doing work in either high school or college.
Hmm.
That's, you got to put together and do all that work and do first drafts and whatnot. And, just check your research to make sure that it's not just some random fact you found on the forum that makes no sense where there's no backing to it.
Right.
Now it's not a chore. It's more like since I have an idea of what I want to cover for every type of attraction because we have that formula in place. It's fine. It's more about like finding the quirks. So like doing the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, finding the fact that there was a crossover for one weekend only between Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I had no idea that existed until I did the research. So if you find fun stuff, it makes it interesting. But there are some attractions where you're like pulling teeth because the information might not be legit, or it's like you have to make a video, but there's not enough info to pull it all
Yeah.
together to make it something interesting.
Yeah. So do you have a team behind you at all, or is it just you do everything?
I for the most part, the editing and the writing is me.
Hmm.
I now have somebody who does the voice cleanup and does the editing of my voice work for me
Yeah,
because I just look for any way to cut down some of the work during the
for
week.
sure.
And my sister is involved with the thumbnails and some of the graphic design. She's behind the logo. She's behind the
I
banner
was
that we
just
have.
gonna ask that. That logo is incredible.
Yeah, I thank her because she's from when we first started. If you watch the older videos and see those logos to what we use now, she's just gotten so much better at it, and it's fantastic. And
Yeah.
I send it to her via email. Hey, listen, I need this. She'll send me back something, and like 9 out of 10 times, she just knows me well. She knows exactly what I'm asking for. And even
Yeah.
sometimes, like when we're just like trying to put together stuff specifically for the video, she'll be able to do some work if I need her to.
Nice.
So from like start, like the idea of a ride to finish posting, about how long in between those two thoughts? How long is there in between those?
Usually, it's about 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So to put the whole video together, average it's 2 weeks. Lately, it's been a little bit longer because I've switched hours, so I don't have as much free time because of my job. So it's now like maybe 3 weeks. It usually takes me like 5 days to research and write, 2.5 days to do voiceover, and if I'm lucky, like 4 days to do any type
Jeez.
of editing. But it doesn't feel like it's that long.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Lately, it's been the voiceover work because I just haven't had time to get full sessions in. So I'm like
Right.
recording one section, and then the next day I'm going like 3 hours with like 5 paragraphs because I don't like the takes. And then it
Right.
comes down to hearing my voice way too much now. I'm like, No, don't like it. No, don't like it. And people tell me you're overreacting, but then you read the one comment on YouTube saying something bad about the voiceover.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. Got to do
Oh,
it again.
God.
That's why now, like, I'll check comments like for 48 hours and then I'm done. I'll move
Yeah.
on to until the next video comes out because
Right.
everybody got their opinion. They're entitled to it. That's fine. But once you start hearing everybody else's opinion and not taking yours into consideration, that's when the quality of your work, I think, starts to suffer.
Oh yeah.
But I will say the one thing that you do extremely well, and it stuck out to me even from like the start when I started watching you, is you make sure to go through almost every single comment and make sure that you screenshot whoever recommends that ride and you make sure to put them in that video. And that's one thing I like.
Yeah, it's listen, if you're asking for it, I want to make sure you get the credit for it. Now that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes
Mhm.
somebody's like, "Well, this video came out Friday and I left my comment yesterday."
Oh my God.
Like, dude, do you think I had time to include your comment,
My
render the
gosh.
video, upload it again? And I
Yeah.
apologize to these people if I get the chance, but it's like I'm pretty sure that you guys, myself, everybody, you're fans of theme parks. You're fan of these attractions. You want to see them covered. So if you're asking, you should be included in the video. It's also participation. I want to
Yeah.
reward the people that still want to watch, and you know what? Also, it helps when it's like, huh, I didn't think about actually covering that attraction, and then you go and you do it, and it's actually a really
Right.
fun attraction to cover. You're like, that's pretty cool. They knew something that I didn't when I was thinking about what's next to cover.
Yeah, and I will say your thumbnails are great too. Like they definitely are just eye catching. And where do you usually get your images from? Do you just go on like a Google search and kind of mash them together? Like how do you work that? And like how do you think of the right thumbnail?
You know, it is sometimes checking Google and seeing what it is, but also for the most part, it's trying to capture the most memorable moments of
Right.
the attraction
Hmm.
itself. That's not every thumbnail because it's just some of them are just hard. Like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is great because it's just Potter and the bench.
Right.
But I actually struggled with Escape from Gringotts because there's no really iconic moments from that ride. Everybody remembers the dragon
I was
right
about to
there
say
when
the
you walk
dragon.
in.
Yeah.
So you do it, and it's like, yeah, that's the moment. Others are like great. Like if I could, any of the '90s Universal Studios promos that they use. So the Jaws thumbnail, the Confrontation,
Yeah.
Terminator 2 3D, they just pop out and they're just great. If I could ever find like real high quality prints, I'd buy them and I'd put them on the wall in my office. Just because
Nice.
concept art like that, you don't find anymore. You look
No,
at concept
Oh,
art
not at
today.
all.
I don't want to say it's deviant art-ish. That's not fair to the people doing the work, but it's more like there's nobody's drawn anything.
It's just not nostalgic. That's the
mm,
biggest
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's it. And you know, Griffin, you're a huge Disney fan, so you know from like the '90s and even the early '80s, any of that concept art that they had at the parks
anything like that.
is fantastic.
Yep.
Epcot is the example of any of their stuff. If you could find it,
Yep.
it's just amazing, and I
You know,
Yeah,
love it.
it's funny hearing you guys like both bond over that because I don't care about it because I'm right here.
Josh and I fight over this all the time, especially when it comes about like Universal and Disney.
Oh,
I know
don't
you'll
even
take his
start.
side. I know
Don't
you'll take
even
his side.
start.
The only reason why I say I'm a big Disney guy and I will forever be, I will, Disney will be my one up above Universal is because I've been going there every year since I was a kid. And we went to Universal once when I was a kid and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but I compare it to a Six Flags of
Horrible
Connecticut, of
comparison.
actually Massachusetts.
That's a
Well,
horrible
I
comparison.
well,
only say that to mess with Josh.
uh, well, I don't. People assume because of the fact that the logo is Universal and that
Right.
we do a lot more Universal attractions that we lean heavy towards Universal. It's my favorite park, but I'm not afraid to admit that Disney does it better. They're number
Mhm.
one. They're number one for a reason.
Hmm.
But I feel like I don't know if it's Six Flags. It's it has to be a step up on Six
No,
Flags.
it definitely is.
It's
Yeah,
I
Busch
always say that to
Gardens
mess with
in Six
Josh.
yeah.
Flags is about the same.
Listen, I've gone to not the one up in Massachusetts. I've gone to Great Adventure in Jersey,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's a fine park.
Yep.
But it's only known for theme. It's not known for its theming. It's known for its roller coasters,
Coasters,
its
yeah.
thrill rides, which
Yep.
is fine. But it's like, you know, I'm the same way. Where as a kid, I went to Disney and Universal, but
Hmm.
what ended up happening is that by the time all four parks were open,
Mhm.
Like, I think it was just the exhaustion of like 4 straight days of having to go to Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Universal, you could do
All of it.
in one day if you
Yeah.
want. It's like, it's like Islands Adventures packed. We can go right next door. It's a walk.
Yeah.
My parents
Exactly.
weren't going to be like, hey, Magic Kingdom's packed. We just paid the entire day to be at Magic Kingdom. We're not driving to another park. We're
Right.
staying here. And again, that was 90s, early 2000s. So you didn't know what the wait times and the capacities were at those parks.
Yeah.
Now you can
Nope.
check that on Twitter.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, this park's packed. Where else can we go if we got time today? All right, let's do that.
Right.
But I have no issues. Like when people say, Disney's better. They're better at certain things,
Of course.
no doubt. And Universal, in the last couple of years, they've done some things better than Disney.
No
It's
doubt.
always going to be that argument. But I will always hold to it. Disney is number one. And I never think Universal can get ahead of them. It's just years and the experience.
No
It's just the
doubt.
franchise of Disney as itself just has so many IPs to choose from that no matter what they choose, they're gonna kill it. Universal, they really screwed up with Fast and Furious, and then now they have people complaining that every single ride that comes out is just gonna be trash now. Like they have that mindset. I think Hagrid's kind of saved us a little bit, but man, Fast and Furious is pretty rough.
It is a very, very bad attraction. that's the best way. I mean, I've done people.
I've heard you talk about it before on a
talk or rants because there's a rant in that video, and it had to be done. And I love Universal, but
that ride is just atrocious.
Lazy.
Dude, they could have done so much more. I thought when I first heard it was announced of Fast and Furious at Universal, I was expecting something kind of like Test Track, but something to that in that realm of a coaster. I mean, you're talking Fast and Furious. Why couldn't they do like a coaster of some sort?
Yeah, you would just figure Test Track was always the first thing in my head because Test Track puts you in the car and you're going fast and you can, it feels like you're actually driving a vehicle. So you figure that's all what Fast and Furious has been about. It's been about cars and crazy speeds and extreme thrills and all this other crazy stuff they've done.
Yeah. But
instead, you decide you're going to put 40 people on a party bus. Where in the movies do they put 40 people? So, it just that in general, that time frame between that ride and Fallon opening up. And Fallon's not a great ride, but it was at least something a little bit different.
I enjoy it, yeah.
It's not bad.
I enjoy it. It's not bad, though.
But the fact that Universal decided to gut 2 attractions, and I admit that Disaster was on its way out and had to go, and Beetlejuice is still very good. But you gut 2 attractions, and you hype this attraction up as the next big thing at your park.
And then it's just another of the same ride from the other park.
Yeah, and the it's a bad irony here because of the pandemic and the fact that they're at limited capacity and they had to cut staffing. The ride's not even open right now, if I last recall. So 2 years later, after you spent all this money to build this ride, and people are not interested. So it's egg on their face for what they did. And again, you talk about IPs. That's their own IP. You're not paying out of pocket to get Potter. It's your billion-dollar franchise, your most successful franchise.
Yep.
And you decide just to
do a huge disservice.
Yeah, that's like, and again, I'm not saying they're going to, but that's like if they decide to take the Marvel attractions and they just do really bad, like as copy and pastes of other attractions. And they kind of already did for Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle. I think one of the parks, not here in the States. And it's just like a really bad version of Toy Story Mania.
Oh.
And you're just like, what? Why? It's like, it's just the branding. It's just a Marvel attraction.
Yeah.
People will go to it.
Yep.
So it's like there's a lot riding.
That's a lazy cop-out, too.
Exactly. And like there's a lot riding on the Avengers campus in Disney California Adventure that they don't mess up the Spider-Man ride, and eventually they don't mess up the Avengers ride. I just feel like that's how it has to be. They got to make money on that.
No. Hold on one sec.
So whenever I wrote, have you ridden Hagrid's or no?
No, I last time I went down there was for my birthday back March 2019.
Oh, so they were just about to open.
And I was staying on the resort for 5 days. And let me tell you, every day I was there waiting.
Yeah.
Are you gonna soft open today? Are you gonna not soft open? Are you doing previews today?
Yeah.
No, I think it was like 2 months later they were letting people on, or maybe the end of April they were
Mhm.
doing that. But I haven't. So
Dude, it's absolutely phenomenal. Like it's up there with my top rides for sure. Like 100%, probably like easily top 3 rides. But dude, that and Velocicoaster sounds and looks amazing from what I'm seeing and hearing. I can't wait for that ride also. So if you're gonna go, you just need to wait for Velocicoaster to come out too, so you can knock out both.
yeah, you're talking about like Fallon and Fast and Furious and how those rides were like pretty bad, and now
Yeah.
look what they've done with the next two, which is like, okay, they're making up for their mistakes by giving
Right.
us two really good roller coasters that kind of appeal to different groups. The Velocicoaster is like that same group who loves the Hulk, from
Right.
everything I've seen.
Yeah.
For people who don't like those type of coasters, and let's say something like the Mummy, or even like if you want to go to Disney, like Space Mountain or
Mhm.
Expedition Everest, seems like Hagrid's more in that type of
Right.
range, which is fine because you got to offer everything to everybody coming to the
Exactly.
park. And it
I
works.
was I was in a annual pass holder group on Facebook. I had to leave that because it was toxic. Like I'm sure you know this, but there's some really diehard fangirls and fanboys that makes that theme park community so bad sometimes. But I'm getting off topic. Anyways, I was in a Facebook group and people were talking about how Universal doesn't offer enough like roller coasters and stuff, and I'm like, I mean, they have a decent amount. And then everybody's like, no more rides, no more attractions, only coasters. And I'm like, well, that's not for everybody. If you want only coasters, go to Busch Gardens or go to Six Flags even. But that's just not what Universal is, and that's not what they're gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised if they have coasters in their parks because they need to appeal to
Right.
everybody.
Exactly.
But they're more along the lines like Disney, where it's like you usually have families
Mm-hmm.
going to your parks, and if you have like a 5 or 6 year old, you can't take them on the Incredible Hulk. You
Right.
might be able to if your kids really want to do that. Okay, no problem. But like you said, Busch Gardens is specifically like that.
Yep.
SeaWorld is more like that the last couple of years, and
Yeah.
all the new roller coasters they're building. So, they all appeal to certain people. Even when Islands of Adventure opened up in '99, the biggest complaint it had was there's no rides for kids, like
Yeah.
little kids. You got all these other thrill rides, and then they decided to put like the flying unicorn
Mhm.
and Storm's acceleration, all that type of stuff. But it all depends on what the company wants to bring in, and what brings in the most money: families.
Right.
So you bring in a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but in general, it has to be rides that everyone wants to go on.
Oh yeah.
Now, I got two things for you. So, one, I highly recommend it, especially if you like Disney and the nostalgia factor. I bought this book for $10. Okay, it's a
Okay.
25-year anniversary book, and it has all the pictures of like different rides and stuff like that. So, like, I got Cranium Command in there and stuff like that.
Nice.
And so it's just so nostalgic, and it brings, honestly, it's a good idea, especially for your channel. I feel like if you're ever like stumped on a ride to do or something like that, or something you even forgot about, like it's in that book. It was only like $10. I feel like you'd love it, especially since you're into that stuff.
Yeah, it's actually the last 6 months I've been collecting more and more of like the books about the Disney parks, just because it's one thing to do the research, but then I've gotten more interested in the Imagineers themselves
Oh
and the
my
work
Yeah.
God,
they've
it's
done.
incredible.
And you don't realize everything they've done and the behind the scenes work and just their whole all the accolades, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
amazing because you don't really from a universal standpoint, you don't really hear much about their creative team, and I
Mm-mm.
don't know
Yeah.
if that's by purpose or whatnot, but Disney always puts the spotlight on the Imagineers and the work they've done, and rightfully so,
Yeah,
because the parks are as popular and the rides are as iconic as they are because of the Imagineers behind
Oh
them,
yeah.
so they
no
deserve
doubt,
just as much credit.
no doubt. Now, my other question is getting back on the YouTube track. When you were coming up, what was your, because we all have different struggles, and I feel like we could all relate to each other, especially when we're coming up on the platform. What was your biggest struggle? Whether it be like watch retention, just having that upload schedule, like your biggest struggle overall for your channel?
I think the biggest struggle when I first started ended up being, I was maybe the retention. It was more along the lines of seeing people watch maybe half the video and then drop out.
Yeah.
So retention is one thing, but it ended up being more about what can you do to make sure the retention stays steady, where the engagement stays steady
Mhm.
throughout. So it ended up being like, the voiceover work had to be a little bit better. It had to be faster. I had to be able to edit it down better. When putting together the scripts themselves and writing the essays, it's okay. Does this information have to be in there? If you're going to include it, can you actually find stuff that relates to what you're talking about? Because then if you can't and you got to run B-roll, kind of might lose people's interest.
Right.
Or just in general, it's like originally I wasn't going to really include the ride portions of the videos and just go from the history to the closure with changes. But I was like, that doesn't feel like there's enough content there. The
Mhm.
videos were like less than 10 minutes at times. But I feel like, too, if a ride's closed and you're trying to watch a video of it and it's grainy or you have no idea what's going
Yeah.
on, you kind of need, maybe you want reference to what
Some
actually took
context.
place. Yeah. So, you try to include it. And sometimes it was like, how much do you include? Do you talk about certain parts of the ride? So it was more along the lines of finding the footing to keep the viewers engaged and interested. I think the other thing too, you mentioned the schedule. Schedule wasn't an issue because I knew I can get a video out every 2 weeks because I had an idea what I wanted to do right off the bat. Now it's like I have a list of things and the list is ever changing because
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I have time. And then I'll get a call from work saying, hey, listen, I need you to come in. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, there goes my whole day. I was supposed to start doing voiceover work.
Yep.
Or so now I got to find something that's, I don't want to say lesser, but it's like if I'm trying to do a video and I'm like, I ain't got time, then I got to find something for an express video and get that out instead.
And I want to clear this up. Now that you almost have 100,000 subscribers, for the people that don't understand, you still don't make enough money off the platform to quit your job, correct?
Oh, of course. I know there's that misconception, but I'll be honest with you. Most of the videos that we put out, and this is probably my own fault, I do use, a lot of music and
Yeah.
backgrounds, and not people don't pay attention to that, but I feel like you need to have that in the videos. It gives it a little bit more oomph.
Mhm.
Definitely does.
Most of those videos have been claims.
Yeah.
Some it's either the audio or the video. I know
Mm.
people assume 100,000 means that you're pulling in 100,000. It's not.
And
Yeah.
well, for some people, that's the bad problem. For some people, it is because they have 100K subs and they're posting every single day, and each video gets anywhere between 50 to 100,000 views. They're raking in like views daily like that. But
Yeah, yeah,
people, I
that's
had
true.
somebody Instagram DM me. I have almost 4,000. I'm like 100 subscribers away from 4,000. This
Congrats.
dude, thank you. This dude DMs me and he's like, "Hey man, can you give me like $1,000? I'm struggling for rent this month." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm struggling too. Thanks though." And then he's like, "No, you're not. You're a YouTuber." I'm like, I said, "How much do you think I make, man?" He's like, "A lot. You're a YouTuber." I was like, "Dude, I make like $200 a month on a good month. Like, I'm not making a living on YouTube."
Yeah, I mean, I know maybe because that's how it was back in the wild, wild west of YouTube, like 5 to 8 years
Yeah.
ago, where, yeah, because the platform just took off. People were really interested, and, there was a boatload of ads, and
Right.
people, those companies wanted to get in, and they're willing to pay more to have their ads on your video. Now,
Yep.
changes have come, other platforms have showed up, YouTube's, whole policies have changed because the companies aren't happy with the content that shows up in some of their videos. But, I'll admit there have been some months back in the day where I was like, wow, this was actually pretty good. And then there are other months where I just go, okay, it is what it is. But there's no way,
Yep.
if I did this full time, that I'd be able to survive. Even if I tried, I probably would still have to go back looking for a job, probably about 3 months in, just
Yeah.
because it. This is it's the beast of YouTube that, with my type of content, some of the videos do very well and others don't. And it just in general for YouTubers, I think it's unless you are like you said, consistently being able to put out videos every week, it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And I remember there were sometimes saying, hey, listen, I've seen other YouTubers go, I'm having a really bad month. If you can help me donate to pay for my rent or pay for my health insurance or put food on the table.
Yep.
Gosh.
And I have nothing against those people, but I'm going, if you know this is the situation,
Mhm.
then you got to stop. If you know you can consistently make money with a job and not this,
Yeah.
then you got to switch. But I get it. Some people, this has become their life. This is what they do. So they're worried that they stop putting out content, their fan base diminishes. They
Yeah.
stop caring. It's a very, and that's kind of like where I am now, where it's a very fine line between I love doing theme park history, but to me it's always been a hobby.
Right.
And with my job, that now takes more responsibility, which I can see myself retiring from whenever I get to that point. You know, you get to that point where there's a fork in the road and you got to decide. I'll always keep doing theme park history, but it's going to get to a point where it's like maybe one video a month or like every 3 weeks, and I can't tackle the huge attractions, or if I do, it's going to take a longer time period to get
Right.
No doubt. Now, are you selling any merch?
out. Yeah, I it's like Teespring, just a T-shirt. I
Okay.
don't go crazy with designs or whatnot,
Mm.
just because I've never looked for any type of profit from the channel. It was
Yeah.
more along the lines of create the videos so we could preserve these attractions. We're just in general, when people are looking for information on these rides, you have a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
It's like
Mm.
20 minutes long. You get the information from concept, construction, the ride, and closure. It's
Nice.
open and close case.
And I want to say that for some of the new YouTubers that think they're gonna make $1 million quick on YouTube, he never did it for the profit.
No, no.
Always for the love of the videos and the stuff you're making and the content itself. That's why you're successful, is because you do it for that very reason. You're not downplaying yourself just to get the quick buck. Like even you said, at your own fault, a lot of your videos have gotten claimed and you lost money because of it. But at the end of the day, those videos might not have done as well if you didn't put that song in there or that image or whatever.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes you your channel too, right? It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
you know,
listen, my thing is it's the passion you have. Everybody has their own passions and their hobbies. And, to me, like you said, it was never, to me, it was like, oh, I'm going to do this because I think there's a multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
platform here. No, if that was the case, you would have seen me pump out videos that are, in my opinion, less quality every week.
Right.
And some people, everybody has their own thing. They see something, they think they can capitalize on it. Okay, that's it. But then there's going to be people who say, yeah, he's doing it, but you know why he's doing it.
Right.
Everybody has their passion.
Yeah.
Even before I did this, I dabbled in other, YouTube channels for other passions I mentioned, for wrestling, video games, daily fantasy sports. They never took off, but I did them for like a year. And I was like, okay, after a year, I've done it. I enjoyed it. But it also gets to a point too where you're like, you do it so often, but if you're putting out video after video and it's no views,
Yeah.
it does beat you down.
For sure. Yeah.
And eventually you have to decide, do you keep going and see if there's something changes, or you just call it quits. I told you the first 6 months, none of those videos were over 1,000 views.
Yeah.
ET was the best video, and that was like at 800 views. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, but I had the time. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed the engagement with the people commenting and talking to them. So why not?
True.
And I guess it was just a shot in the dark, and I got lucky where I am. And you mentioned about starting new YouTubers starting. I say it to everybody who's ever asked me. Rome wasn't built in a day, and
Yep.
your YouTube channel won't be either.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, are you connected to any other YouTubers like Yesterworld or anybody in your genre?
I've worked with Fast Pass Facts
Okay.
in a collaboration video, in a larger collaboration video. I do stay in touch with Expedition Theme Park and a couple other smaller channels, but not like Yesterworld or Defunct Land. I'll be honest with you, I'm like nervous to reach out to them.
Why?
Dude, you have 10 times more of the subscribers than both me and Griffin, dude.
Yeah,
and all we did was tweet you, and you were like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
yeah. It's like, to be honest, being a fan of their content, you're like, oh man, it's like it's just weird.
That's just like us, dude. It wasn't. I don't know. I think you just got to do it. The worst case scenario, they don't see it or they don't respond, and then you just move on. But
Yeah,
because
that's
I was
true.
like, after the first couple days, I was like, he didn't respond, and I wasn't like devastated. I was like, this guy's big. He's got his own life. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's not worried about our small channel and stuff. So
Nah, listen, even with that, I've said it before. Like, I'm willing to work with anyone. We're going on anybody's podcast. It's just timing, and also
Mhm.
just like making sure that like I was once, somebody asked me once to come on their show, but they were more of a, it's very weird. It's like an economic channel. And like, well, I want you on the show because I want to talk about the impacts of theme parks and the economy. And I was
that's not up your
like,
realm, really.
yeah, it's like, you want me to come on? I could kind of, I don't live in the area. I don't know. I can
Mhm.
give you an idea because I do pay attention, but like, I
Yeah.
don't know numbers. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's weird, I guess, in some cases. And then I once had a guy who reached out to me, a smaller channel. I'm not naming names, but he's like, hey, I want to do a collaboration with you. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. What do you want to do? And it was, I haven't done it yet, but they wanted to do Poseidon's Fury.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, sure. It's like, so how do you want to do this? You want to get the research? You want to do a part of it? And he was like, no, no, you just send me the voiceover work. And I was like, hold, dude, that's not how this works. Okay. I said, you got to give me something in return.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, and the guy only had like 600 subscribers. So
Oh,
I kind of,
Jesus.
you read between the lines where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, your channel's growing. I want to be on it. And then you can plug my channel. And I hope it goes the same way. Everybody I've worked with on my channel, or anybody I've gone on their channel to work with for collabs, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
That's how I feel it has to be. It has to be a two-way street.
Listen, if
Do
you ever need help editing or anything, you let us know.
Yeah.
do you
Well,
guys? Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you guys know who Arak is? He's an up and coming YouTuber. He
Yep.
blown up this year
Logan
alone.
Paul with Logan Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned I know Logan Paul, but I don't know him.
Okay, so he's just a YouTuber that's like started in January, and he just absolutely blew up. And the way he blew up is by like getting with other YouTubers all the time. And so he was on a podcast, and they asked him, they're like, so when you first started, how did you get these YouTubers to say yes? He's like, well, you just have to make it something. You have to give it something in for them. Like they have to be able to get something out of it for them to want to do it because they're so big and they're so time consuming. And so it's funny that you said that guy was just kind of asking you to do his video almost. Like he wasn't.
Yeah.
There was nothing in it for you whatsoever.
Yeah, like, so I've worked with Jimmy Good from Critical Reviews, and he put in, like I said, okay, so listen, I'll do the history part and the ride part, but I need you to research for the other versions of the attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And within 3 days, the dude got me back his part of the essay, the script, written out. And he said, if just go through it, make sure that you like what I wrote, and I'll start the voiceover work. And within a week, he had everything ready to me. That's a great collab to me. I've worked with Jason from New Jersey Coasters, and the dude was able to get me footage of some of the stuff when he goes to the parks. He was able to get me research and photos while I'm still putting together certain parts. I'm not always going, you want to come on my channel, you want to be part of the collaboration, you got to do all the work. No, that's not fair.
Yeah.
And you know how it is these days. It's like, also, I'm not saying it's like the exposed videos, but it's like people, yeah, he let me on the channel, but I had to do all the work, and he took all the glory, and I got nothing out of it. I would never be that way. If anybody ever wants to work, that's fine. I always try to just work with people. It's just now, and this goes back to, like you said, the bigger channels, trying to find time to do these collaborations.
Sure.
It's like, hey, I'm available on a Tuesday night. Well, I'm working. What about Friday? No, I'm not available. It's always, that's the great thing though with technology. You always can just talk to people via email or DMs.
Yep.
But it's like to actually be able to sit down and talk to them or try to get an actual conversation sometimes takes forever.
Yeah.
Just because everybody's schedule is different.
But I can speak for myself and Griffin that we have a lot going on in our lives, and as far as work, we're both working full-time jobs that did not slow down during the pandemic, and that if anything, we both sped up. But we've just struggled to find time in our lives, along with having girlfriends, and I go to school full-time as well still. Like I have 2 more classes. I'm graduating college, thank God.
Nice.
But it's just a struggle to find that time. And people think we have all the time in the world because we're YouTubers. And I mean, even I can only imagine how much crap you get for that, because I get it at 4,000 subs and you get 100K. People probably think you're living the life, luxurious and multi-million-dollar mansion. And
no, well, you know what? I'll just say, if that was the case, you'd see me posting a lot more on Twitter about me being at the parks. Obviously, before the pandemic.
Right.
But no, I do get that every once in a while. I did have somebody recently comment saying, you've only put out 10 videos this year. What's going on? I'm
Oh,
going,
Jesus.
10 videos. How many videos? Not that I started with the guy, but I want to go. I've put out 10 videos because that's as much time as I had.
Yeah.
If you don't like that, make
Then
your own videos.
unsubscribe, yeah. Get
Yeah.
out of
Make
here.
your own And again, that's why it's like you can read the comments. Most people have been understanding when I've told them, "Hey, listen, something's going on,"
Mhm.
and they get it because they know that it's not just like you're putting out a video that is low effort. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work that goes
Oh
in.
yeah, especially with
some-
your kind of content.
Yeah, so you just end up being like, they get it. The people who don't get it, it's like, okay, they probably don't understand. They're young. They don't. They think that, like you said, you're a YouTuber. You're close to 100,000 subscribers. You should be doing nothing right now except working on videos.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not the case.
No.
That's like you said. Everybody has a life outside of
Maybe
their
back in the day, that might have been the case, but not anymore.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, of course. But it's like
Um,
it ends up just being this thing now where I just shrug it off because I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, if you feel that way,
Yeah.
start your own channel, make your own videos, and see how easy it is. You'll find out really quick that for the type of content I'm creating, it doesn't end up being easy at all the time.
No doubt.
So did hate comments used to get to you pretty bad?
No, not really. There was just one because the guy says, I
There's
pronounce
always
something-
that one.
it still sticks with me, and it just makes me. I pronounced something wrong, and that's my own fault for not looking up how it's pronounced. And it wasn't that. He told me how it was pronounced in the comment, but what he said afterwards still sticks with me. He goes, maybe next time you need an adult to hold your hand to get these videos done.
Oh
And
my
I was
god.
like, whoa, Mike. And I was like, an adult to hold my hand to get these videos done. What the hell are you talking about? And you know what? It's one of those few times where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm clicking on his profile. Nothing. There's no video. It's not even
Oh,
like I
that's
can
the
go say-
worst too.
because like I've had like people leave comments and then you go and you click and you see like, and it's not a shot at anybody, but it's like an 11-year-old who makes Roblox videos. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, forget it. This is nothing.
Yeah.
That one, I guess because he said that, I was like, but I am an adult. I don't need anybody holding my hand. And you click on it, and it's the name, no videos, nothing. So you like,
Dang.
you don't even have anything to like try to project on, saying, yeah, well, you're 11-year-old making Roblox videos. Who cares? It's like, ah, damn it.
Oh
No,
my
but-
gosh.
It doesn't because I since I've done YouTube before, I've gotten that. So it's like, okay. And also my job itself, I deal with a lot of people who, because it's security,
Yeah.
you tell people you can't do this, you can't do that. Especially now with the pandemic, you tell people certain things, and then they call you every name in the book. So now it kind of just it bounces off me. That's it.
Now I gotta ask because I've always been curious. Now, when you do get your people commenting on the rides they want to see next, do you always just take a screenshot automatically and put it into a certain folder on your computer? Like, you know?
No. You know what I do? And this shows how old I am. When I decide I'm doing the video and I start editing that video together,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I go to the comment section, and in the search option, I type in that attraction name,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
and I go all
Smart.
the way through. So in the past, I never used to thumbs up or give a heart to those videos to give away the fact that, oh, I left a comment 2 years ago and now you liked it. Why? And then they
Yeah.
kind of get the hint. Now I have to do it because sometimes it's like I'm screenshotting the same person like 5 times
Yeah.
because they've left that comment 5 times. And I'm like, okay, I'm not including your name 5 times in the suggestions.
Right.
No, no
Like,
doubt.
So before we get away from comments, I just wanted to read my favorite hate comment. So me and my girlfriend went to Disney, and I made like a cool vlog about it. And she was very sick that day, like super sick, and she did not want to go at all. But I took off work specifically for us to be able to go because we haven't been in like a month or two at the time. And so we were like, yeah, we need to go. And so I took off work, and so she was like, whatever, I'm sick, but it's fine. We can go. We'll still have a good time. So she wasn't really up for it. She definitely didn't want to be in the camera really. So I was trying to just make it more of a cinematic vlog than anything. But somebody commented and said, I've been a fan for a while, but your girlfriend is always miserable looking and rude. Really, at Disney, she complains. You try to make it fun day, and she's bringing such a negative energy. I feel bad for you.
That was my comment.
No, that was not your comment.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was like, that's not your comment. You're not Kayla. I'm not going to say the last name. But anyways, yeah, I got that comment. I'm like, man, these people think everything's all sunshine and rainbow. Like, we can't have off days. But, like, she's not the one, like, vlogging. It's not her channel. She doesn't have to put up. I'm not asking her to act like she feels not sick and stuff.
Yeah, let alone they're judging the video by not knowing what the situation is.
Exactly.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
I don't know
And so
how
I
to-
read that comment. I'm like, all right. I showed my girlfriend, and she's like, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be rude. I was like, you were. I'm not telling you were. I'm just showing you this because it's funny.
But you know, I hate to say it, what you just described is like a lot of people who leave hate comments where you go, this and then you go, well, yeah, there's a legit reason. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, once you call them out,
Oh, they.
usually they backtrack.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like either, and I'm not saying anybody should, either stand your ground if you want to leave a hate comment, or don't do it at all.
Very rarely people will double down on what they said.
Somebody once told me when I first started and I did the video, somebody left a comment and I laughed at it. I go, you always sound so sad in your videos. What's going on in your life? I was like,
Oh
what?
my gosh.
Like, that's just how do like, and I was like going back, like watching the videos. I'm like, I do record the voiceover sometimes, like after midnight when it's quiet in my house,
Right.
and I am a little bit tired, but I don't sound like
No.
You're just miserable
Like,
making these videos.
like, oh my, like, do it. And then I started to think, am I always sounding sad? Am I a sad person? And then it's like, no, can't be.
The only video that you should sound sad in is if you do Fast and Furious.
Well, it was more anger.
Yeah.
It ended up being anger and just like anguish that I was doing it. But
Yeah.
and the irony too is that somebody goes, dude, why did you get so triggered doing this video? You never had to do this video. We know it's a bad ride, but holy crap, did you have to go on for it for about 30 minutes? And I left. You do know that most of this is satire, right? I do hate the ride, but you know, sometimes you blow up about it and people go, I'm getting the angry video game nerd from it, which
Yeah.
was the inspiration. Yeah, he hates the games, but you know, he goes to extremes.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I felt, all right, go to an extreme, and I could have gotten more graphic, and I was like, no.
No.
I said, since I said the S word, somebody did leave a comment. Goes, you know, my kids watch these videos.
Oh my
I'm subscribing because you said
Oh
you
my
said the S
God.
word. I said the F word. I censored the F word. I felt like I said the S word like 3 times in the video.
Yeah.
I was like, so what do you want me to do? You want me to put a disclaimer that there's possibly strong language that your kid probably already experienced?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
like
no
on
doubt.
Xbox Live.
I was about to say, I
Yeah.
bet that kid plays Xbox, and you're gonna hear much worse
Yeah.
on that.
He knows everything, and he could insult me in so many other ways I don't know. But somebody told him online already. So
Man,
That's
but
so true.
so here's what we got. We got 2 more things before we end this. And the 2 questions that we have are, what's your end all goal? What do you want to see for your channel in the future?
well, the end all goal was 100,000 subscribers, but that was when I first started.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to be here, I never really imagined that to be the case, just because you like my success with YouTube wasn't there. So now the end all goal is to try. I'm going to stick by it. Is try to cover every Universal attraction by the time I finish this. I want an entire catalog of theme park history videos from Hollywood and Florida
Yeah.
done. And I'm getting there. Most of the big ones are gone. Were not gone, have been taken care of. But like I'm ending this year with probably what will be just as long as Halloween Horror Nights, which is the studio tour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history there. And
Oh yeah.
I'm already looking at that and I'm going, oh man, that's going to be
This
a
is
lot
gonna
of
be a
work.
beast.
It's going to be because there's like over 100 years of like information
Right.
there. So it's like, okay. But I think the end all goal is to build a community, to have people really enjoy theme park history, not just the channel, but the idea of it. And you know, like I'll go check Twitter every once in a while and I'll type in theme park history to see just if people are like talking about the channel. And you see this thing now where people go, I'm so into theme park history, whether it's the channel or just the genre.
Hmm.
And I think that's great because it's not just myself, it's all these other channels. And you're opening up eyes to people who go, I really like the parks. But now you're finding out more than just the parks themselves. You're finding out
Right.
stuff behind the scenes. You're
Yeah.
finding out the history of your favorite rides.
Yep.
And, you know, people do it for every other thing. Video games, behind the scenes,
Oh, yeah.
the history. You know, wrestling, you find out everything that happened before, during, and after the matches and the careers of people. You know, even like music artists and their rise and fall and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And I just think theme parks are the last thing you would think about finding out the history of. But once you actually dig into it, there's a lot of good stuff, and
Yeah,
that's the end goal.
and that's kind of
Awesome.
like what this podcast is also. Like we're digging up the history of people's channels, like why they started, how they started, what they did to get there, all that kind of stuff. And so I think we can appreciate your content a lot more because of that, because we're kind of doing the same thing just with YouTube channels at this point.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I haven't heard of it, it done really in that expand. You've had people come on, but they're guests and they ask. But the fact that you guys have a podcast dedicated specifically for that
Mm-hmm.
is great because, people that are looking to get into YouTube come to these videos, come to these podcasts to find out more. But also fans that don't really get to have the chance to find out more about us. You guys are opening up that door.
Yeah.
And that's great because most people won't do that. They have you come on and then they just want to talk about your genre in general. You guys are like the first to go, well, let's talk about the whole aspect of YouTube,
Yeah.
which I haven't had a chance to do with anybody yet.
Well, we're glad to be the first.
So you kind of answered this in your last thing, but this is the last question we asked before we send our guests on their way. So when do you plan on stopping? I know you said you want to hit all the main attractions, but besides that, when do you plan on just putting theme park history to rest, if ever?
So that was asked when I did the 25,000 Q&A. And they
Mhm.
said, how long do you want to do it? And I said then 5 years or 100 videos.
Mhm.
Now I haven't done a head count. If you don't include, and that's not including like express videos or anything else I do.
Okay.
So I think I'm at like almost, it has to be over 50 by now. And 5 years. So it's either going to be one or another. Honestly, I don't see myself ever stopping theme park history, but there's going to be a point where I feel like there's not going to be a consistency to the
Mhm.
videos coming out. It'll be like when it's done, it's done. Just because I'm eventually going to get to a point where, not that I'm going to run out of stuff to do, but you start covering smaller attractions, smaller
Yeah.
parks. The research is harder to find, the footage, the photos, that's harder to find. It's not like these major parks where you have VHSs for years of their promotional stuff, their press kits, their press releases.
Right.
So, I see myself still doing it strong for 2 years, keeping the 5-year promise, and then just seeing how it goes from there. Because you
That's
know what,
awesome.
I might be still, getting the numbers I do now, but in 2 years, people might not be interested, and then I got to make a choice.
Or you're downgrading yourself, or it could be the complete opposite, and your channel skyrockets, and it can take over your career.
Yeah, well, you know what, you mentioned that too. Let's just say it does take off.
Yeah.
And I'm doing most of the heavy lifting now. Then if whatever I'm making from YouTube, that money goes right back into the channel.
Yeah.
I hire people to come on board and they can help me out. And then I still could be the voice of the channel while somebody's doing the research, or I hire
Mhm.
somebody to do editing. You know, it always fluctuates.
Yeah.
But as far as how long do I see myself doing it, I told myself it's a promise 5 years of putting out videos. After 5 years, see how it is and make a choice then.
It's awesome.
No doubt. Perfect.
Before you finish, I'm just curious. What are your guys' favorite attractions?
Oh,
I figure I gotta ask one question related
That's
to theme
tough.
parks.
like that
Go ahead,
ones
Griffin.
that are gone or ones
And
that are still around?
doesn't matter what it could be. Just in
Alright.
general, your
Well,
favorite attraction, whether it's still around or if it bit the dust.
all right, let's go current day. I'm a big fan of Flight of Passage.
I knew it. I got you
That's
hooked.
Josh got me hooked on that one.
Yeah.
That's my current day favorite. But if we're going nostalgia factor, Pirates of the Caribbean is my favorite ride.
Such a good ride, dude.
Ever.
It's so
Two
simple.
very good choices. Very good choices.
So I'm gonna have to say it's a tie between Hagrid's and Rise of the Resistance.
Okay.
Both rides are absolutely phenomenal, and they both outdone any of the rides they've ever done before. But if we're going, and this isn't even that nostalgic, but Mummy just hits different for me. I could ride that 30 times a day, every day of my life, and still get so excited to ride it.
I don't think it gets enough respect for what
It really
is.
doesn't. It really
No.
doesn't.
I know people complain that the roller coaster part's too short, but it's still, that part is still fantastic.
Yeah, and I quote the ride every time I go on it. And I'm sure my friends hate me when I do it, but it's such a good ride.
Listen,
Yeah, he does.
listen, before the backdrop, now what I do to mess with people is I start yelling 2 or 3 seconds before it actually happens. So people have no idea what's going on. Like, why is he yelling? And then, oh my God, we went backwards. So
That's awesome.
yeah, but no, that's very good choices from both of you. They're one basically the best, I think, in their parks right now, respectfully. Flight of Passage and Rise of Resistance. Mummy, I still consider to be like 1A and 1B up there in that park.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, it's very good choices. I'm just glad nobody said Fast and Furious or like Journey into Your Imagination. Because good
Now,
God.
well, same question goes to you, right? Let's do Disney and Universal. What are your top 2 picks for
All
each?
right. So if we're just going all time, for Disney, because it was the first ride I ever went on when I went to the park, and I still love it, is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Oh, classic.
Love it. It's a
Solid
classic.
ride.
Yeah.
So it holds a near dear place to my heart.
Mhm.
Talking about
I bang my knees up on that ride.
Oh yeah.
So bad.
Oh yeah. It's not as bad as Space Mountain, but
Oh.
it's rough still. But
Yeah.
still like it.
Oh yeah.
And for Universal, it always has been, always will be. It's always gonna be Jaws the ride.
Yeah.
Just love it.
Oh,
Such
that's
a great
classic,
ride.
too. That's a classic.
At least they replaced it with something good and not
Yeah,
Fast and Furious.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
no doubt.
But all right, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm sure Griffin does too. It was really fun talking to you and hearing your come up, and I wish you the best of luck on the rest of your YouTube journey.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate being on, and I hope the same for you guys and your channel.
Tell them where they can find you at.
So you can find us theme park history. If you search it on YouTube, we usually are the first thing that pops up. I'm active somewhat on Twitter at TPH YouTube. There's an Instagram that I never post to. That's also TPH YouTube. And we do have a Patreon as well, where you do get early access to the videos, and I do send out stuff to the theme park fanatics, is what we call them, every couple of months. So
Nice.
it's like it could be
Awesome.
a sticker, a magnet. I just started sending out people pins, so it fluctuates from here and there. I always try to send something out. It reminds me of like the fan clubs back in the '90s.
Yeah.
Oh,
Used to have those. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
but theme park. If you just search theme park history, we're usually one of the first things you find.
Awesome.
Man. Well, it was nice meeting you over Zoom.
Yes, this went much better than my last Zoom meeting, so I'm glad to see it went that
That's
way.
awesome. And maybe once you maybe we can do a part 2 once you do a face reveal later down the year.
Yeah, I know you were talking about that, but I got to keep the promise.
Yeah, no worries. I wouldn't
no.
want to rob that from you.
And I can't wait for people when we go back to the Hake. I can't wait for them to tell me that I'm ugly, even though I've said it throughout the whole thing. I'm a 6 out of 10 at best.
Oh,
So I've already put that bar there. So.
Well, if you set it low enough where people, if at least you're a 6.5, then they're impressed.
Listen, you can't disappoint if the bar's that low.
There you go.
That's how I feel.
Exactly.
So I only could go up from there.
Well, we're excited for that, man, and we will talk to you soon. If you ever need anything, don't be afraid to hit us up.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And again, if you ever want me back, I'm glad to come back on.